Hello. Always a great start of our Scaleup afternoon, this great drone movie that we're showing. Welcome to our 22nd Scaleup afternoon. My name is MJ van de Boomgaard. Everybody calls me that. I'm the liaison manager for startups and scale-ups within KPN. I will be assisted today with Tijn Lamers, who's innovation scout in my team. He's doing the questions for you, and we have a great panel for you in order to tell you more about the Dutch landscape of accelerators and incubators. A special warm welcome to our 22 partners that have been with us from the start and that are speed dating afterwards with some of the scale-ups and startups we've selected. It's really great that you're here, and from the feedback I heard that a lot of deals can be made here, so good luck if you have a speed date, and thanks for joining. Thanks for joining as well, the startups, the corporates, the accelerators, the investors that are joining. We hope to bring you an insightful program today. As always, we have three elements in the program. First of all, we have an inspiration part, which is the plenary discussion with some great panelists. Secondly, we have the speed dating event, which starts at 4 and lasts till 6. And thirdly, this time we're experimenting to give you a bit of a networking tool where I tell you more about later from 4 to 6. So I hope if you didn't make it to a speed date, you can still get some connections over there. If we look at some statistics today, we have over 330 participants. We have 13 KPN departments involved, 22 corporates and investors that give you access to capital or market. We have over 240 startups and scale-ups joining us today. And finally, we have over 130 speed dates planned. So I hope this might be the start of some great business for you. To give you a bit of a more insight what is happening for startups and scale-ups within KPN, we have two departments. My team, which is the startup and scale-up liaison management team. We focus mainly on demand-driven scouting. That means that we talk to about 70 departments within KPN, get their challenges and try to match them with innovative companies in order to bring innovation into the company. We've done over 300 deals since 2016, I think. And we're there as well for you as a startup to open our doors and to provide you to our big organization. If you want to reach us, see the email address on the right side. We as well have a KPN Ventures team, which is investing in strategically related startups and scale-ups. It's more than financial investing, that we are also going to help you. So therefore the strategic part. And for them, the limit is that you have 500K of revenue, which is usually a less risk-averse, a more risk-averse is that, approach for corporate investments. We have a great portfolio. Check out their website or their email address. So today it's about the landscape of accelerators and incubators in the Netherlands. And we've tried to find an overview, and this is, I think, a good overview of everything that's there in the startup and scale-up scene. It's the ecosystem overview. But Anne from TechLeap could help me out that there are at the moment 114, is that right? Yes, Anne?
114, yeah.
Yes. Scale-ups and accelerators in Holland, and 4 programs aimed for scale-ups, sorry. So these accelerators are usually aimed at startups. So that's a lot, and I think the number is still growing on a weekly basis, maybe. Maybe it's slowing down due to COVID, but it's growing. To give you a bit more insight on definitions, what are accelerators and incubators? I hope you all know it already if you're in the scene, but if you don't know it, they accelerate your business. Usually they're for a specific time frame, for a specific focus area, and they help you with network expertise, finance, validation and things like that. We've put out the definitions of accelerators and incubators on the slide, but during this talk we will talk more about accelerators as one of sorry, there's some noise going on here, of both concepts. So this is the topic. And for this topic to discuss and to give you an insight what's happening behind the scenes, we have some great panelists joining. There are actually 5. And the first one is Anne Stroobos. These are the 5. Anne is you studied innovation ecosystems at Utrecht. You were the founding member of Yes Delft.
Yep.
You started. You were involved as well in the startup ecosystem afterwards with ACE and Green Village, and you're now the director of technologies and deep community lead with TechLeap. And I hope you all know TechLeap. I noticed in my team not everybody did that, but TechLeap is supported by the government, and it's aimed to improve the ecosystem in Holland. Yep. TechLeap, you have 3 programs by yourself. The RISE program for the help of scale-ups, I think.
Yes.
The pole position, which is actually your
my piece of cake.
Yeah,
yep.
On early deep tech teams, and the Go Global team, to foster global expansion on topics and on areas. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, can you explain me why you put a focus on deep tech? What's different than other tech?
Yeah, I do think that deep tech nowadays is kind of a buzzword. So when I started at Yes Delft, it was more like high tech or hard tech. So now everything is deep tech. So, and the definitions vary. I mean, everyone has their own definition. But for me, it comes down to a combination of 2 or more disciplines involved. So it's hardware and software. So it can be robotics and software. It can also be biology and hardware and software. So it's always 2 or more disciplines involved, and it mostly has a scientific base. So the knowledge is protected by intellectual property, and because it's very new, so it's not an innovation yet. It's an invention. It's an idea. It's a concept. So it can take quite a long time to reach the market. So that's why it's also difficult for these kind of companies to really find the perfect market fit. And
so we talked about this before. For example, medical grading or IP registration, that takes much longer than a digital startup. I think that's the reason.
Yeah.
For example.
So for example, most of these companies also enter the valley of death. So that's, I think, different with the more software-related companies. The valley of death is like a chicken and egg phase where they need money, but the technology is not yet proven, so it's difficult to find investors, it's difficult to find customers, but they do need the money for development. So it's like a chicken and egg, where that phase can take quite long for a deep tech company.
Secondly, you are setting up a program for deep tech startups, and you do that together with other incubators and accelerators.
Yeah. So, as what you said, we have about 114 programs in the Netherlands for validation and incubation. Nowadays, it's more called acceleration, but it's this first phase. And what you see for deep tech, because these programs often take like 1 or 2 or 3 years, but deep tech to reach the market or to reach the scale-up phase can take up to 5, 6, 7 years or more. So there's still a gap. So what we, with pole position, what we did is to, together with incubators, also Yes Delft, our pilot partner in pole position, is to extend the regional support, bring it to a national level, make it thematic. So we have a peer group of companies all in the same sector, so that we can really connect these companies to the right networks, to each other, so of course, peer-to-peer learning, to investors, specific investors, and also give them the tools and the skills that they need to kind of give a boost to the development of their company in this difficult stage of valley of death. Yeah.
And you're now running a program on health, I understand. Yeah. And we talked in advance, and you say, okay, I bring back the learnings and, for example, validation back to the accelerators as well, eh?
Yeah, so because we work together with incubators, we see what these companies need. And we see also what they don't know yet. For instance, the batch that we now did with the health batch, so the market access information that they had was still kind of behind. So we had to give them a lot of trainings to get the market access on skills up.
Yeah.
So this is something that we could also maybe implement earlier in the programs of the incubators, yep, especially for health tech companies. So that's how we can translate the learnings back wherever possible and needed back to earlier stages.
Cool.
Yep.
So win-win-win, huh, for everybody.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah. Anything you like to add on this program? For the introduction, we're going to talk a lot more about it.
So what now we did this first pilot with 4 incubators. So it was Yes Delft, Novelty, Utrecht, Incubator Venture. But we would like to scale up this approach to all Dutch university incubators, so that we would have like a whole base of incubators. And we would like to run 3 more batches this year, and again also the health batch after summer.
Okay,
So
ambition enough, and energy as well. I know. I noticed
energy
from from our earlier discussion. Thanks, Anne. I'll come back to you later.
Yeah.
I forgot a point, guys. We wanted to make it interactive, so we have a poll which should be on the screen at your home offices, where we would like to know if you have, as an audience, ever joined the Accelerator and Incubator. We will use the viewpoint of startups, scale-ups, investors, corporate, as well as business coaches. So please enter your answer on the poll on the screen. And then secondly, we wait some moments for that, but there will be another one. And that second question will be, would you do it again? I go on with the discussion and I come back later to time to talk about that. Second one in the studio, and I'm really happy that you're there, EJ, is Evert Jaap Lucht. We call each other EJ and CJ.
Very efficient.
Yeah. What's funny is you started at KPN, then you started entrepreneurship, and I think you're a very successful entrepreneur with at Media, Nimbus, which I'm gonna ask you a question about, and GTI, which is related to telecom as well, and innovation. You're a lecturer at Nijrode. And since 2017, managing director of Yes Delft.
Correct.
Thanks for being here. From your entrepreneurial part, what was your biggest lesson from Nimbus? Because I think that was a...
So I learned a lot of lessons, of course.
Yeah.
First of all, don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's, I think, very important. When you start a company, you will make mistakes. That's not a problem, as long as you fix them as fast as possible. This is really, really important. And building a great company is all about, let's say, an excellent vision and an excellent execution. You see people like Elon Musk. What I really like about a person like him is he has a great vision, but you know that was not so unique, electrifying the automotive industry. But his execution part was really, really incredible. You know, he did it. He didn't even have a background in automotive. So it's really, really important that you keep this always in mind. Am I still working on the correct problem-solution fit, my vision, my product market fit? Yeah. And at the same time, do I have a very effective and efficient team that can execute this vision?
Cool.
So is there diversity? Is there a culture of participation? Are people motivated? This is really important.
Cool, yeah. And I think you can find it on the internet, but he was very successful with the Nimbus company as well as with the others. Yeah. Hey, and then you started to join accelerators. What motivates you to do so?
That started all with, first of all, I'm an engineer, so I love technology.
Yeah.
Not from an engineer from Delft, so from Eindhoven. According to a lot of people in Delft, it doesn't count in Eindhoven.
Okay,
But that's okay. There's always a lot of positive competition. It was also a little bit of giving back, my experience, my lessons learned. We have a lot of entrepreneurs and resident serial entrepreneurs that are participating in the ecosystem and giving back. This is really important. And it's also fun. I really enjoy working with these young people, smart people, and when they're working on their dreams, it's also a little bit my dream. So it's really enjoyable. You know it yourself.
I know it, for sure,
So I've been doing it now for almost 5 years, and it has been a great ride so far. So
cool. Hey, and tell me a bit more about Yes Delft. What are your focus areas? What are you proud of?
So in general, is what we do. We are an incubator with an accelerator program. So we support early stage and later stage startups, and we do this with a quite large team, 23 people. We provide educational programs. We have services, like getting access to capital, to talent, to market. But the most, let's say, valuable thing we offer is, let's say, the ecosystem.
I think so.
It's not only the Yes Delft ecosystem; it's the complete Delft ecosystem, which is really impressive when you start to learn this and start to appreciate this. So
hey, and what is the newest technology that you're focusing on or that you're proud of?
That's a very good question, but it's because it is so much. So of course I can say quantum computing, but that's already owned now by Anne. I'm really happy stepping in also in the deep tech. But what I really enjoy is at the moment robotics. I see really now a tendency that humanoids, robotics, so they're already in the industrial industry. But I also really see this in a human-robotic interaction. I see it really happening at the moment. I saw it also in the CES in the States. We bought ourselves a spot robot, and we really, let's say, piloting this with a lot of our partners and for inspection, warehousing. So I think this is going to be a new area. So I really put a lot of attention.
Agree. Agree. Anything special you want to mention about Yes Delft at this moment? We're going to talk more.
No, the only thing is that what is really interesting is that we built Yes Delft for the last 5 years from, let's say, a local incubator with a global reach into a regional incubator, because we talked about fragmentation.
Happy for that,
and I don't believe in fragmentation. I truly believe in cooperation, and it's by combining the ecosystem together, bringing it together, and trying to bring the best practices to everybody in this country. So I'm very much also behind the thought of TechLeap with a single hub, a national single hub. So I'm happy to, let's say, bring that forward.
You also have plans to go to Rotterdam, huh?
We already are in Rotterdam.
You are, yes.
Erasmus University is now become a shareholder, so this is really, really important. 2 universities and the municipality of Delft.
So let that be the message as well, that we cooperate as Holland.
Work together.
We're too small to fight each other, I think. Hey, thanks, EJ. Then online, we have another great panelist, which is Roon Tijl. He's from Rockstart, and I had promised to do the Rockstart sign for you.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're in Denmark at the moment, Roon. Welcome. You started your own startup, Nu Dat Jul, and learned some valuable lessons as that. Since 2011, you're the CEO of Rockstart and the founder as well. You have locations in Amsterdam, Copenhagen, and Bogota, which was surprising to me, but we talked about it. There's a big innovation scene going over there. And I think Rockstart is known for experimenting with his business model recently. We're going to talk about that later. So you're in Holland for almost 11 years, Roon. What's your coolest Dutch word? Because we have to do it with that, I think.
You told me I was going to prepare for that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick one of the first one I learned was gezellig.
Ah, that's good. That's good.
Basically, not for the reason you think that is one of the first words that Dutch people would like you to know, but we also have a similar word in Danish, which is called hygge. And we also do not know how to explain it in English. So for me, it was very easy to understand what gezellig was actually about.
Hygge is easier to pronounce than gezellig, I think, for a foreigner. So thanks for learning that. Hey, can you tell a bit more about Rockstart? What are your focus areas? What stages are you in?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with stage, I mean, we like to see ourselves as the first professional investor in the startups that we invest in. That can mean that you get in when the startup founders just have the pits and looking for the first investor, but it can also mean that they're a little bit further where they already have commercial traction. They might be looking for sort of bridging towards a Series A, but we will sort of be the first professional investor as a VC that will be stepping into the company. And we focus on areas that we think will be incredibly important for the future. So energy, becoming more efficient in the way that we use and produce energy. Agri-food, the same thinking. We're going to be 10 billion people in 2050. I think a lot are talking about it now. When we made the analysis sort of like 4 or 5 years ago, it was one of the trigger points to say, okay, we need to go for this because we need to optimize a lot in the way we produce and we consume. And then emerging technologies with the mindset that we have to continue to invest in that really, really early stage of technologies to have these leapfrogs in innovation.
Yeah.
These areas.
So you're helping the world with our some of our biggest problems, trying to help at least. And you changed a bit to investment with a more focus on investment, I think, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So the accelerator itself, we really believe in because it brings people together. It creates an ecosystem. It has a very clear process and is very disciplined in the way that we operate, but it's not enough. So if you really want to have global successes, then we believe you have to continue to work with the companies for the longer term. So we created investment funds connected to each of these domains, allowing us to go in a very early stage, earlier than any other VC fund would probably want to do. and then continue to co-invest together with the market onto Series B, but continuously relying on the market. So we are not a lead investor, we are a follow-on. So it's up to the entrepreneur to go out in the market, pitch their business, find a good lead investor, get the terms, and come back to Rockstart. And then if we like what we see, then we'll co-invest and continue to support the company on the CP.
Yeah, cool. And it's a high energy place there as well. I've seen it before. Is there anything you like to add at this moment about Rockstar? Anything I didn't ask you about it?
No, but I mean, we very sort of focused on trying to connect amongst countries, right? So the one thing that we sort of look at is like which markets is most interesting for entrepreneurs if you're within a certain field. The reason, I mean, I'm from Denmark, but we also saw an opportunity connecting the Dutch and the Danish market from an ag and food perspective. And in terms of Bogota and Colombia, where we have our main office there, it kind of have the same sort of domain areas. So agriculture is really strong, and we're trying to create like a global network, which is hopefully also what's going to be unique about Rockstart in the future. Yeah,
cool. Come back to you later, Roon. Thanks for joining. Then in Eindhoven, in a great boardroom, it's John Bell. John studied economics. Hi, John. He worked at corporates like Philips and Johnson & Johnson. You've been in the USA and always been an advocate of open innovation. I think you even give lectures on that at the University of Twente. Since 2020, you became the CEO of High-Tech Excel. Welcome, first of all. Tell me a bit more about high-tech. It's as well an energizing environment and a good ecosystem.
No, absolutely. I think High-Tech Excel is somewhere in between your definitions, where you say, hey, we're looking at accelerators and incubators. We are a venture builder, so we are not just providing services and in a passive mode. No, we are actively creating new ventures. And we do that based on deep technologies that we can scout at certain places, for instance, at TNO, but also at CERN or in Waterloo in Canada, but also with companies. And based on the technologies, we look for talented entrepreneurs, typically from a technical perspective and a business perspective, bring them together. And we have all kinds of tools to do assessments of people and see how they fit with the technology. Once we say, hey, it's allowed to move forward, we move forward, and then we start a very intense program of about 9 months, where a lot of things will be done to create a company that can stand on its own legs. It's deep tech. It's typically hardware, but also, of course, there's always AI or big data or IoT kind of things involved. And we do that together with our ecosystem, where AJ was saying that he is so proud to be part of this huge ecosystem around Delft, which I'm proud as well. To see that ecosystem, we see also our own ecosystem in Brainport, as we call it, where we have the MAC industry and the making industry, the manufacturers who can do many things. We have a very intense relationship with these players. The partners like ASML and Philips are shareholders in High-Tech Excel. So we have access to all the people in those companies. We have access to their knowledge, to their experience, but also to their customers and the applications. So that makes us, I think, really, really unique. Most important still to mention is that we only focus on building ventures that try or will solve one of the huge societal challenges that we have in society, whether it's the energy transition, whether it's the recycling, whether it's the health issues of people. It always has to be something that we want to focus on. We want to have impact.
Clear. So the difference, for example, with Yes Delft of Rockstart is that you look at people and teams to be formulated during the High-Tech Excel period, and you have a lot of IP yourself, for example, from TNO, CERN, and things like that.
Yes,
Good.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, come back to you later, John. Thanks for the explanation. Then from the north of Holland, let me do a disclaimer, because I know there are 180 accelerators in Holland, and we couldn't invite them all here, so we chose 5 distributed around the country. And to make that complete, we have Kees-Jan Groen from Venture Lab. I call you CJ, Kees-Jan. You're in the north of Holland, Groningen. You've studied in Delft. You worked in corporate as sales, marketing, and business development. And at your 40s, you started to be an entrepreneur, and now you're the director of Venture Lab North. Can you tell me a bit about Venture Lab? Because you're at building teams as well, huh?
Yeah, I'd say Venture Lab is very much focused, like High Tech Excel, on the person. So we're in a very early phase. Let's say we're also in pretty intensive program. So we're a 1 year long program focusing on training, coaching, and networking people. Let's say that can be. Oh, by the way, we are a startup accelerator program for the University of Groningen, the RUG, as well as the Hanze Applied Science. So we have, let's say, thinkers and doers together in a way. We have approximately a 50-50 division between people from the RUG or from the knowledge institutions, which can be students, but most of them are PhD. So we also have this, let's say, deep tech. That's the buzzword apparently. Let's say is a really, let's say, a lot of people with ideas on which they have been working for quite some time, but they don't know how to turn it into a business. They are unaware, incompetent, and that's probably the biggest trick I think Venture Lab does, is turning that unaware incompetency into an aware incompetency by really training, coaching, and networking them, and by creating a competent team. And then a lot of similar things will happen to what the other speakers have said before. Let's say the business starts to grow, to accelerate. And then you need to make sure that they get access to the right capital, because a lot of those ideas need capital in most cases before they start flying. And by the way, I am indeed an engineer from Delft. I like also Eindhoven and Enschede, to that matter. But as I'm an aerospace engineer, I like the idea of a takeoff in that sense.
Cool. So your accelerator is more based on building teams as well, and highly related to universities and hogescholen, Koen? CJ?
Yeah, that's right, MJ. But maybe it's more about also building the person. So having the person realize, who am I in that team, and what is the value I can bring to the team before we start building the team. So It's really about unaware incompetent to aware incompetent to competent teams to business acceleration.
Yeah, and is it required to come from the north of Holland? Do I need to move to Groningen, or can I stay?
Let's say, I think it probably applies to. There is of course startup visa, so people from outside, let's say the European Union, can come to Groningen because they are interested in, I think, areas in which Groningen is pretty strong. Of course. Energy with the whole gas infrastructure here up in the north, the transition to hydrogen, also that has been said a couple of times. The focus is really on the big transitions, the energy transition, the health transition, the eiwitten transition in agri-food. But the effectiveness of our program, because it's very much face-to-face, and yes, Corona is putting a challenge on that one, but we're very much a very interactive face-to-face program, which means that we do like you to be around Groningen on an hour or max an hour and a half drive in that sense. So if you have to move, there's nothing above Groningen. It's lots of fun here.
That's good. I think that participation and being on the floor is essential for all the programs, the accelerator programs. So let's get back to the audience. Tijn, can you tell me how many of the audience did experience an accelerator?
So yes, I have the results. The first question was, did you join an accelerator or incubator program? Most of you did, or at least more than half did. 55% joined the program. Cool. And of this 55%, 3 out of 4 are startups or scale-ups, so 75%. Yep. And the second question, would you do it again? I think this is more a qualitative question to see if it's a good program. More than half of you said yes, definitely. 56%, and 44% was not sure. But at least none of you said no way. So I think you're all satisfied with the program you followed. So that's good.
Okay, that's a good promotion. If you have questions to the panelists, you can hover on your screen and post the questions. We have a very tight schedule, but I try to come back to you. Thanks, Stijn, for the results. So at least we have added the value from the customers. That's a good part. Hey, I have some specific topics I would like to discuss. Every time from a corporate, an investor, and startup, I should have started with them, Scaleup, or a business coach perspective. So the first one is when or why should you join an accelerator? What should be the benefits? EJ, for startup Scaleups, what should be the benefits and when should you not?
Well, I think every incubator accelerator can offer a lot. We discussed educational programs, but you can also find them online. A lot of accelerators started only to bring out an online program. Again, it's the ecosystem.
Yeah.
I've seen the power of an ecosystem. At Just Delft, we have 2 large buildings where we have more than 140 startups all together.
Yeah.
And when, let's say, you start a medtech company tomorrow, and when you come into this building, and you know that there are 10 or 50 more medtech companies there on the same floor, where you can just walk in, knock on the door.
Yeah.
They're willing to help you. You have peer-to-peer coaching. That is a tremendous value.
Yeah, I agree.
And, because I can learn a lot from you if you're already 4 or 5 years further ahead on your travel than I am. So really, I believe that the more incubation we can do, the better it is.
Clear. Hey, and when not to? So.
Well, the funny thing is, I built my own companies without.
Can work as well,
but still, I wish I was 40 years younger now, and with all the lessons learned I did in my life. So I truly think there's a lot to offer. But even though you join an accelerator or an incubator, realize you still have to do it by yourself and by your team.
Yeah.
So it's and being an entrepreneur is learning the methodology, the techniques. But you must have the character and a certain talents and assets to really make this happen. And one of the proofs that it is not just being lucky to be an entrepreneur is serial entrepreneurs. Otherwise they wouldn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so it's the motivation, your entrepreneurship as well. In our pre-talks, Anna, we talked about commitment and being able to adapt. I think that's can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's first of all, maybe just to come back to your previous question. I do think, especially when you're a first-time entrepreneur, that just choose an incubator, because the network and what is saying, the community, but also the courses it's just there for you. The whole support system is in place, so just make use of it. I mean, it's there, but. You can go in and not learn anything. It's all about how eager you are to learn, how willing you are to open up for advice or tips or criticism, feedback, how well you can make other people feel that you listen, your customers, your team members. So it's all about how you do it, how your personality in the case. And I think the eagerness is the most the critical success factor of a startup.
Thanks. I can agree on that. John, from a corporate side, because you also have corporate partners, what would be a reason for them to join?
Yeah, a couple of things. So one thing we do with corporates is that you see that corporates find it difficult to bring disruptive innovation forward themselves. So they can easily deal with sustainable innovation and more or less incremental kind of innovation. But really breakthrough innovation, set up a new business from scratch is extremely challenging for corporates these days. By working together with say in HyTechCell or one of the other ones, you could build that new opportunity outside of your own borders, outside of your own organization, in a much faster way, also with dedicated focus, with different kind of people which you never would be able to hire as a company, because these people don't want to be hired by corporates, some of them at least. So that's, I think, one. The other thing is also get involved from a talent perspective. For instance, with ASML, we have an agreement that talents from ASML in their what they call management development program or whatever they call it, are allowed to work for 3 months, a day and a half in one of our ventures. Cool. So we have every year a cohort of ASML talents who learn by being part of a startup, and they take that entrepreneurial mindset back in their daily life in ASML.
Yeah.
Which is really, really interesting.
Thank you. I recognize that if you are on the floor with those accelerators, you get a different mindset. So totally agree with that with you.
Yeah,
On
and
that.
some of them will want to stop after 3 months. So they
that's
ask
best.
that's what I meant. Can I continue? Can I continue, please?
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Cool. Roon, for an investor, you have changed your business model. You gathered a lot of investment money. What's the main reason for them to join you?
Yeah, it's maybe good to put them sort of in different categories, because at least when we pitch to them, right, we try to talk to the reasons why we know they want to join, and we look at them like the categories of business angels, then strategic, which is more corporate investors, CVCs, and then we have sort of, let's say, market positioning, where it's family offices and institutional investors. And I think for the latter category, it's very much about allocating in a certain area where you want to influence the world, right? So you might, the energy transition, you have a certain strategic agenda, and you want to make sure that part of your allocation is done on that, and then on a certain geographical area. So of course, then we try to look for ones that really have that thesis, investment thesis. And for strategic, I think for corporates, is often around, understanding the market better, looking at the deal flow, being close to the program to really see how that process works, and try to learn as much as possible, so they can sort of integrate internally some of this new innovation coming forward from startups. And then the category where we have a lot from our very beginning of Rockstart, because we work with more than 200 business angels who invested into our early portfolio. They're really looking at it because they would love to see sort of a portfolio strategy where you can diversify, and you can ensure that you don't just bet on a few that might not make it, but you have sort of a good average if you bet on a portfolio. They're very interested also to learn, of course, and see the deal flow and follow the ventures along and see how they can help with their network and that time. And that's how we can sort of utilize as an accelerator to be that professional party that manage their money, manage the portfolio, and ensure that the companies and the founders are getting the help that they need.
Cool, thanks. For me, it was a new angle. So getting access to angel investors, which is usually pretty hard, I think, could also be a reason to join at least Rockstart, I think, what I learned from your answer. Thanks. CJ, there are also business coaches needed. What's the profile you're looking for in that person?
As much, first of all, let's say they have to be enthusiastic about helping, let's say, young entrepreneurs. That can be young people, but that can also be older people with very young minds who want to be, let's say, next to the manager now, an entrepreneur. But it's are you really driven by, let's say, helping an early phase business idea and try to turn that into impact? And then, let's say, our coaching pool, we have about 60, 70 people. And they are, let's say, the diversity then is a next important step. So the more diversity, the better, because coming to different stages, as our program is a year long, you can go from, let's say, a patent applying to a first commercial customer into setting up your, let's say, operations initially. That all takes a different coach, and that's where basically we have something like a little Tinder app. That's actually me taking care of that. We match the proper, let's say, coach with the phase in which the startup is at that moment. For that, we have a whole structure in place where we kind of follow where they are, what are the coaching requests, and make sure that the right person is helping them out, and so helping to accelerate.
Okay, so I think you look at domain knowledge, network, entrepreneurial.
Yeah, male, female.
As well,
one of the things I would like to point out is that we are quite exceptional up north in Groningen. We have about 30% of our population of participants is a female entrepreneur.
Good.
And the interesting is also that it is kind of stable throughout all the different phases. So it goes from the initial one joining to really getting invested in, that 30% kind of stays up. And I hope, let's say, Groningen can be a leading example there for the rest of the Netherlands to follow.
Let's get it to 50, I would say.
Yeah, I agree, and better. Yeah.
Okay, good. So next, the selection process. To give a bit of a view behind the scene, there are application methods. We show you a slide at the end where you can send your application to those accelerators. But Roon, we talked on the forehand. And can you tell me a bit, how much do you do scouting yourself? How much are applications? What's the succession rate? Can you tell me a bit more on that?
Yeah, of course. I think sort of the take on accelerators from back in the day is probably that you apply and then that's the way that you get in. But in reality, I think it has changed a lot over time. For us, we're actually quite active in reaching out. So I would say that probably 40% of the companies we end up investing in come from a process of reaching out to companies really early on, or founders really early on, and thereby get to know them and build a relationship, and then they come whenever it's a good timing. Then there's like 30% or so that's like referrals coming in from partners, and these are so follow-on investors who can invest in the subsequent round, or it can be like university partners that we build relationship with, earlier incubator, so on. And then the remainder is like applications coming in. So that's approximately sort of how it is today, and a little bit depending on the domain, of course. But yeah.
Yeah. So 30% is applications, 40% is scouted by yourself, and 30% is referrals. So there's the ecosystem working again, I think. Any big difference with the other panelists on this? I think it would probably all be the same, eh? Or is the proactive scouting different?
It depends on. Sometimes we get, let's say, inquiries from startups coming by themselves, but we have a scouting team because it's not so much about the quantity, it's about the quality. And we are a deep tech, tech incubator. So we are really looking for those companies that fit in within our programs and into our ecosystem. And the criteria we have is that we allow companies to come in, and there's a selection process that at least have 2 founders, because we always say if you have only 1 founder, it's not a company, right? Secondly, we want you to have more than 50% of the control of the shares. This is important because then you can steer your own company. And thirdly is we really want you to come in with a validated concept, because there are 2 big mistakes that we see at our startups is that there is insufficient market validation. This is so important.
Biggest pitfall.
We have a great validation lab, by the way, thanks to you also. You developed it in the past. And premature scaling. So it's really funny to see people, especially engineers, they always fall in love with the technology, not with the problem. But you should fall in love with the problem instead of the technology.
True.
And the moment you have
with the solution.
And with the solution, exactly. And when you have raised your money, don't scale up too fast, because sometimes you still your product market fit. And even though you get money from an investor, that doesn't mean you need to attract 20 engineers or whatever. And the timing when you step, when you're going to hit the pedal, so to speak, that's really difficult.
Okay. Is there, that's a question from personal insight. Are there any podcasts or things like, I know the Up Rotterdam has podcasts with entrepreneurial stories. Are you doing that as well?
So I have a community team, so we have it, not so much because we have so many distribution methods. But what we really scout by using ambassadors. So we know exactly where, let's say, certain professors are in the system that have some talented students. We know where to go in with the serial entrepreneurs, with corporates. So if you really want to have a good scouting team, you need to know your ecosystem. You need to know where your ambassadors are. They bring in the right companies.
Because of time. Sorry, Anne. Please.
No, it's just the pole position is... so the partners of pole position also bring in the companies of the pole position. So that's
good
the next step.
Win-win.
That's a good win-win. Hey, let's go to the next topic. Some success stories, because it sounds a bit generic, but I've heard some great cases where you really can prove the added value. CJ, I'm coming to you. Can you tell a success story for the startup part or for the business coach part, where you really added value? And I'm most interested in what can we learn from that. So what's educational for our audience?
So that's a tricky question, AJ. No, let's say one of the leading examples is a company called EV Biotech. Linda Dijkshoorn, and I was there 5-6 years ago, probably when she was pitching in one of our student events for the first time. And if you now look upon, let's say, how she's doing that and how she's actually growing the company and going for a second round and looking for their own office building instead of a rental one, it's a very, let's say, deep technology idea, but the development of her as a person and let's say driving the business, really being the CEO, which she was not aware about, let's say, in the beginning. And I like, let's say, AJ said it earlier on, seeing the personal development of that type of people making a really significant impact in a region like Groningen is lots of fun. So for everybody listening in who's still contemplating whether they should join, whenever you're close to Eindhoven, Amsterdam, Delft, Groningen, go and tap into the fun. It's a development of yourself. There are lots of plenty cases. So let's say by naming Linda, I forget all the other ones, but I mainly wish it to all the people listening in who are contemplating the idea.
Cool. AJ, do you want to express?
And of course, we have many success stories, so to speak. And of course, we always talk about, Ample Man, we start about. And people talk about, I like Night Balance, which is female, really successful.
Big one, huh?
But for me, if you say, what is a success story so far? It's a company that just started. It's called Venturi. And they really have the moonshot objective to electrify the airline industry.
Oh, cool.
So everybody's saying it can't be done.
Yeah.
And we really worked really hard with them to get the capital in. And Venturi just announced, let's say, the first prototype of a 50-person airplane. A lot of press releases, and also really good. We really worked with them to get the funding in place, and we succeeded there. And this is really enjoyable to work with these kind of companies. And the fact that we have these companies into our incubator and we can support them, that for me is really a success.
Yeah. Hey, and where was your Yes Delft added value on them?
First of all, helping them to get the proposition more well defined, the message, communication. How are you going to communicate to the market that you want to raise a lot of money for something a lot of people say can't be done?
Yeah, true.
So communication is really key, and then you need to find the right investors that are willing to take the risk to help them forward. Yeah. It's the same with Hard Hyperloop. This is everybody said this is impossible. These guys went 5 years ago when I joined Yes Delft. They started. That's an amazing team. And look where they are right now. By the way, also in Groningen, I know, so they made the right choice. But they have already the first tracé is there. So these young people, independent if it's female or male, those are the success stories, I think, of every incubator.
Great ideas, helped by you to network, ecosystem and things like that. Is Lightyear one of yours as well?
No, that's Eindhoven. And it's also a great company.
Yeah. There was a great tegenlicht documentary some time ago. John, Lightyear, can you tell about that? Because I think that's the Elon Musk of Holland.
Yeah, it's a car coming out of TU Eindhoven. It has the solar panels on the roof. It's not coming out of High Tech Excel.
Okay.
But it's a great example where they put all the competences of the whole region together. They were able to track the money even from family offices in Switzerland. And spectacular. If they can deliver upon what they dream today, even a very cheap car of around 30,000 euros, that would be amazing.
I like the sexy, expensive one as well. Looks very good.
Yeah,
I can.
Need a bonus.
Yeah, a lot of bonus. Watch the Tegenlicht documentary because it's a really interesting one on entrepreneurship as well. Yeah. And John, I heard an example with you as well that there was some IP on, I think, carbonization with the soccer fields. Can you tell about that?
Yes, we have a company that uses IP from TNO. And what it does, it takes CO2 out of the air.
Yeah.
So direct air capturing. And this is very complicated. So there are some companies in the world trying to do that. It's at this moment the price point of 500 euros or dollars per ton. They can do it for a fraction. They can do it for below 50. Which means it becomes a viable business. For 500 euros per ton, it's not a viable business. Nobody will pay, at least at this moment, 500 euros for reducing 1 ton of CO2. This is a really interesting example coming with technologies from TNO. But at one point in time, there was a big challenge around the membrane, which was cluttered with CO2 molecules. They didn't know how to solve that, so we activated the experts of ASML, the TU Eindhoven, and TNO, put them all in one room 2 times. By the way, it wasn't solved after 1 time, but the second time they were able to solve the issue, and now they are ready for prime time, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a real cool example. There wasn't a real direct benefit for ASML, but because of the ecosystem, people who loved to experiment jumped in and made a dream possible, I think. Anna, on your side, your program is early, but...
Yeah, so for me, I think the benefits of the program and in general is more delivering serial entrepreneurs. So what we need to achieve is that startups that start up, so they start their adventure, they embark on an adventure, and then somewhere, a lot of them somewhere disappear, stay small. So what we would like and what our mission is with Pole Position is to finish the loop. So that the talent will be released, like Eline van Beest also, what EA was just mentioning. So then you have a serial entrepreneur with a little bit of financially independent, who can either start investing or start up another company, and hopefully with a little bit more complex technology afterwards. So I think it's very important that we also focus, I think CJ was also mentioning this, on the talent, so that we can make sure that we make sure that the loop is completely finished, and that the company is either acquired or stays a very nice player in the field.
Cool. The giving back mentality you mentioned at the start. Rune, you have some great examples as well, I'm sure. So give me one that you want to share.
I'm going to pick one out then, because I think it exemplifies sort of the role that an accelerator can and should play. And because the value add is very clear from our side, and also the result of it. It's 3D Hubs, 2 guys that had an idea to start a marketplace connecting 3D printer owners with people who wanted to 3D print. Where at the time then we met them in Amsterdam, a sort of information meeting, they were actually still holding a job. And the application deadline was 3 weeks ahead. They said, okay, if we get into this program, then we're also ready to quit our jobs and go for it. Very smart guys, Brian and Bram. We managed to help them with the first round, where we brought together the 2 business angels, Stichting Doen, who was also a shareholder at Rockstart, or is a shareholder at Rockstart, and Bolterton came in visiting the city, and we introduced them, and that was the first round. One of the next rounds was led by Equity, and we introduced him to Kees Colin at the time. This was also sort of leading that round. And if you take it all the way to the final round, then we sort of had a little bit of involvement in many of the stages, also introduced them to a company they end up acquiring. And the beautiful story of this, of course, the company is part of Protolabs Group, acquired for $330 million. So there was a lot of shareholders in that company, and a lot of the ones making money are now putting it back into the ecosystem. And that's the perfect outcome. Then our job is almost done, right? Because that's what we want to see. We want to see more entrepreneurs who are willing to take risk and put in their hard-earned money back into the ecosystem to help other entrepreneurs.
Okay, thanks, Rune. I think
MJ.
Yeah.
Let's say, can I want to build a little bit upon let's say Anna's remark.
1 minute, CJ, because
all right.
you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I will do it in less than 1 minute, because one of the things which I would like to highlight is that there is what is in Dutch called bijvangst, and I think officially is in bycatch. I see a lot. We talk a lot about the startups and successfulness, but a lot of people have joined the program, and even if they didn't become successful with their idea, we see them regularly turn up at other ideas or at SMEs or at corporates, where they do take this entrepreneurial drive and spirit along with them, and that also brings along innovation and let's say better things in life. So I would like to highlight that aspect as well.
We talked about that, your personal purpose probably. Hey, the time is flying, and I get really excited on the topic. I hope we have inspired you from different angles, from some great companies, accelerators. In the Netherlands, there are a lot of more, but if you want to join them, we have some entries on the screen. So you know the 30% application, so get referrals as well. But if you want to join them, please see here the entry points, visit their website, and visit the other ones in your region or in your focus domain as well, because these are just 5. They are great 5 examples, but let them help you build your ecosystem and accelerate your business. I think that's the essence of today. So panelists, thanks for your insights and your time and your knowledge sharing and the energy you keep alive in the ecosystem. It's highly appreciated, and I would love to visit you, those on the other end, again live as well. So thanks for you. I've got some present, but we do that at the end of the show. Yeah. So we have an experiment going on now. We used to do these Scaleup afternoons in an offline session where we had dinner, drinks, and the ecosystem present, and we can do that now. So we're experimenting today with a network tool. It's called WorkMe, and we've created 4 rooms there. If you don't have a speed date, you can go there. There's a room for capital, a room for market, a room for inspiration, and a room for fun. Please use it wisely. Don't offend each other. Really help each other out. I would like to get this going. That's the least we can do in these COVID times. We hope we can do it in person again soon. You will get the link to the networking tool as well as a handbook by now in your email. So if you want to join, please do. And please tell us in the evaluation form if it works for you. We have some moderators there as well. But it's an experiment, and we would like to learn. Then we have the speed dates. You heard about 250 startups joining, and only 130 speed dates could be planned. But still, I'm happy that we could have planned them. If you're selected for a speed date, and that's a very complex process where we match you on your requirements with the corporates on their needs, and we ask permission as well. So if we've matched you up, you can find the Teams link in your schedule or in your email. There are 5 rounds of speed dates. We have a short break. Please enjoy them, be in time. And some tips on this. The slides are hard to read, but I know it by heart, I think. Please focus in these 20-minute speed dates. They are short on an interaction. So you can show some of your slides, but make it interactionable so that you know what does the other person like about my pitch, what don't they like. Tell them as a startup as well as what you're looking at. So why did you choose the corporate company? Make it interactive, please, and make sure you take 5 minutes at the end or 2 to set specific next steps. I wish you a lot of fun and success over there. I think we've been at the start of many deals, and I hope to generate them today as well. If you've got technical problems, and please, if you're a startup or a speed date partner, make a screen print of this. We've got Tijn and Tim, 2 great guys from my team, willing to help you out to get the other parties involved. So use this. If you weren't matched, I can see this one, yeah. If you weren't matched this time, we have a next session on the 10th of May, where the panel will be about Innovate for the Future. And we hope to have as many partners as we have from access to market and capital as we have today. So there's a next time. I think it would be wise to look at the Eventbrite KPN Scaleup afternoon within 3 weeks, because we are still gathering the partners. So if you do it today, you can show your preferences. Let me see. If you want to, if you have questions for my team or for the ventures team, feel free to reach us out. And now is a spotlight moment for my team members. Behind the screens, they've been working really their butts off. So a special hand to the great guys. They're my boy band from my team. I hope you can see them all.
No diversity.
Yeah, we just lost a female, and I would love to have more females in my team. But the floor is on them. Thanks for making this possible. It's a lot of hard work behind the screens. So you did all great. Thank you. As well as for the panelists, I think we have 1 minute until we start the speed dates. Have fun, enjoy, and be inspired. Thanks.
Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.